All right, guys, welcome back. Another day here at PA Farms, another questionable weather day. I know I'm always talking about the rain. It's clouding up today. Today's the day we're going to bale, but it's too early in the day to even start at it. The dew is still on the ground, and along with the dew, if it does rain, I don't want to have it raked into windrows just yet. So give it a little bit. Baling is an afternoon function for me usually. Today I want to talk a little bit about how I get the baler ready, a little bit of inside information from not only all the old timers that I've worked with, but some experience working with square balers and round balers at the dealership. For those of you guys that are new, you probably saw a lot of my past videos on this new Holland 565 small square baler. I did an overview on this, how I came about it, and some of my history of owning balers. I've had quite a few. I've gone through a lot of them, and not so much that I just was didn't like them or anything like that. It was more of a case that I kept finding them at good deals because a lot of people weren't making small squares. And I was buying them, using them for a year. If everything worked, then I'd sell them, basically. Kind of just flipping equipment. But anyway, we've got a 565 New Holland. Now, this is not the high-capacity baler like the 575 or even the 570. It's kind of the... I looked at it as the big brother of the New Holland 315. There is a 315 here on the farm. It's in the upper shed, and basically parking these side by side, there's not a whole lot of difference. So it's an older or a newer version of the 315, the way I understand. Could be wrong, but again, we're not known for being experts here. So to get this ready, basically it's simple. You got your pin, you got your PTO shaft, and you got one set of hydraulic valves for the thrower to swing the thrower back and forth in the back. Just about everybody around me in this area uses a Bale thrower. I know a lot of guys don't, but just about everybody. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that didn't. You have this rope. I do not have the hydraulic tongue swing on here. And this is a brand new rope that I had put on, and I actually made a clip up there to hold it because it kept coming untied. So we have that. This mess of wires here, this one is for the thrower speed control, fast or slow. So that's that big one. Then I have two smaller ones here, and basically the two smaller ones are for the homemade hay preserve applicator kit that I put on it. I did do some videos on that install also, and I'm not planning on using it today. The hay's nice and dry, so that's basically what that is. So to get it ready, it's been sitting in the shed here all winter, from fall all the way till summer now. I just go over it, grease every single universal joint, check the shear pin. There's a shear pin in here that can break off. Make sure it's tight, make sure it's in good shape. We've got a belt here for the thrower, so we want to make sure that's in good shape. In here might be a little dark. There's a grease fitting for your plunger. It's kind of an important grease fitting. And also the reservoir, if you see that cap for the thrower, the hydraulic. I do check to make sure the oil level is good in there. Coming around here, you have various grease fittings. With any small square baler, there's a lot of grease fittings. And what I found working at an equipment dealer and with a lot of different farmers, all through high school, I was jumping from farm to farm. I was on so many different farms helping out. Got to learn a wide variety of different ways guys do things. So what I found is a lot of guys do grease their baler. A lot of balers do get greased and have a fair amount of maintenance done to them. There are guys that will let them sit outside with hay in the chamber and basically just hook up. But if you don't maintain a small square baler, it can be a total nightmare. It can be a headache. You can pull your hair out with some of this stuff, especially the knotters, keeping your knotters greased and clean, free of debris. Now, the whole subject as far as power washing a baler, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I power washed this baler one time, and that was the day I brought it home. And it's going to be probably the only time that I'll power wash, just because When I bought this thing, and I went over this in my video on the overview on it, it was that caked full of dirt. This guy had never washed it since he owned it, and from 1993 till present day, that's a long time with dirt. And I don't think he blew it off either, to be honest. It was just, you couldn't read the New Holland on the side. It was black. It was the whole baler. It was just filthy. And I made the decision that in order to check this thing out and make sure everything's functional and everything works, I first gave it an air bath with the leaf blower, then I graduated to the air compressor, and then on to the power washer. So I did wash it off, but with that said, it was only about a day or so, and then I was baling with it. So no damage that I found. So I'm not gonna, what I do when I'm done, I bring it down, I have it outside, and I'll blow it off with the leaf blower, and come back with the air compressor and hit the knotters with the compressed air to make sure it's clean. This is the area that has to stay clean more than anything. These knotters need to be free from debris. And you'll notice how important that is with these modern big square balers, that they do have an air system to keep them clean. Even if you're out in the field and you're baling for a long day, if you got just tons of hay going through in a day. I've even seen guys have the leaf blower on one of the trucks, and they'll blow it off in between. So anyway, so we got everything greased now. The oil level is good in the reservoir for the thrower. This thrower actually turned itself from the different temperature changes here in the shed over the winter, so that's all right. Another thing you want to check when you've had it in storage all year is to make sure that the bales in the chamber are still tied, and you want to make sure your next bale that's starting here, that the twine's still in the, that is still connected. You don't want it to be loose, or you're going to start the hay season off with a missed bale right off the bat. I do have a bale in here that I have to pull out of here. It's loose. What actually happened over the winter, some of the farm cats here went in and were digging around in it, and they loosened it up. So the very first bale that throws out of here, it's going to be flying apart. So we're going to actually pull that out and throw it back in the field before we get started. My thrower here has had some modifications done because the guy who owned it before me was having problems getting enough speed on the thrower, and we have some extra springs there. So I want to check my twine box, make sure the mice weren't in it all year. Make sure your knots are good that connect your balls of twine. So we're good there. Make sure it's going to feed through properly. So everything looks good in the twine box. And this is the small twine box. I really wish I had the higher capacity twine box, but it's what came with the baler. So in here, I actually did a lot of work when I first brought the baler home. This sweep basically is just on a cam, and then there's two rollers in here. And it just rolls back and forth in the track, and it goes on the cam. It's your hay sweep basically to pull the hay from your pickup into the plunger. When I first got the baler, this first set of teeth was broke, but it wasn't bad because the guy actually had the new part, and I have to check that. That came loose last year on me. Even after I put a lock nut on, something happened. Yeah, you just want to check to make sure everything's all right. You can lubricate the track a little bit. I go very light on lubricating in places where there aren't grease fittings, because what happens is all the dust and dirt sit there and debris, and before you know it, it's blocking everything up. So easy on, especially with the knotters too. You don't want to go too wild greasing them. If I get a lot of excess grease, I've got it down now pretty well to what it's going to need. But if you're greasing it and you have a lot of grease squeezing out, wipe some of the excess off. It's just going to help save some time. So let's just check our pickup teeth. I know I have a few that are bent. I have some rough terrain here, but they're not broke. So that should be in good shape. What else? In here, there's a whole lot of nothing really. The toolbox. So in that toolbox, I have extra shear pins, of course, and the tools to replace a shear pin, a couple other odd parts, but nothing major, because if I have a major breakdown in the field, I'm not very far from home. I can get back here in the shop. So So that's about it. I've pretty well gone over it. Couple places. These are some tricks some old timers had taught me. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it before or if it's even worth your time. But in here, in your knotter, there's a little brass, basically a little brass ball. And that little brass ball, we put a little bit of grease on just because of it does travel in there. It's brass, so you're running and casting to make sure it's lubricated. And also they tell me to put a little grease on this cam here. Like I say, I don't know if it's worth it. It's just something I was taught, and I kind of do. The bale tension, I don't have the automatic bale tension. We have the hydraulic bale tension. So we got to get off the tractor and crank these down. I'm going to have to before I start because I do think I backed them off. So that's in-field adjustment. So just a short video here, about 10-11 minutes on what I do to get the baler ready. I did air up the tires. Everything has been greased and checked over, so all we can do now is go to the field and try it. There's nothing else really I can do. Should be all right. This baler will miss one bale out of about 200, so it's not terrible. So I probably could still use some adjustment. I did a video on changing the twine knife for the twine knife arms that cut the twine. That was a big issue last year. The twine knives that cut your twine were that dull. That's what was causing me to miss bales. The twine knives basically were pulling more. It was such a jagged cut on this twine that it was pulling it. It was enough to throw things out of whack that basically I had bales missing, and I didn't want that. So we addressed that issue. So I did a video on that. I think it was twine knives or something, replacing twine knives. So, all right, guys, I am going to run this baler a little bit. See how everything is. And of course, on this baler, we have our in-chamber Bale moisture sensor. So yeah, that's what one of those plugs is. I forgot. There's a plug for the hay preserve, and there's a plug for the Bale moisture sensor on the monitor and the tractor. I did install that in past videos if anybody's interested. It's an Agritronics product. Been happy with it so far. There's pros and cons to it, but it's a nice general reference for me anyway. So we're gonna bale some hay today. So you'll probably be seeing that video a different day. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I gotta keep working here. The hay is dry. It's dry. So I'm gonna start raking here in about half an hour. Thanks for watching.